Don't you wish like you didn't feel like you had to book every single audition that you got because you needed to pay your rent? Wouldn't it be great if you had a side hustle or an income that actually supported your acting career while it supported you? Well, I know this sounds too good to be true, but it is not. And there's a very good reason for doing it because when you have enough money every month, you are not so desperate to book things, and people can see that desperation. They can feel it. In fact, there are a lot of really big A-list actors who still use this strategy, so they don't have to feel desperate. So if they're doing it, doesn't it make sense that you do it too? This is a serious strategy that actors in all levels and all phases of their careers can use to create some more leverage and balance in their lives. So, for example, people like, ever heard of Ryan Reynolds and Mint Mobile? I wouldn't be surprised if you're actually using Mint Mobile, to be honest. So obviously, that's making him a whole lot of money. And he's also helping a whole lot of people. And on top of it, creating a really nice monthly stream for himself so that he's not dependent on booking an audition just to pay his rent. Or how about Rihanna with her beauty line, Fenty? She also is not only creating another income stream for herself, but she's also able to express herself creatively. But this is not a new idea, to be very honest. Actors have invested in restaurants for as long as I can remember. In fact, back in the 80s, Robert De Niro invested in Nobu, which is now, in all the major cities of the world. Or how about Seth Rogen? So Seth Rogen has his pottery line. I don't know if you've heard of that or not, but he's actually super talented. And this also enables him to kind of kill two birds with one stone. First of all, he sells his pottery. It's beautiful, but he's also able to scratch that creative itch. So he's not quite as desperate, not only not for money, but also not creatively to get on set and do something because he's like hungering for it. So these actors didn't just rely on their bookings to thrive. They diversified. And what this gave them beyond anything else was the freedom to choose the jobs that they resonated with. And you can do this too. So now let's talk about how. Well, Oliver Trevino maybe says it best. He says income first. In fact, let me read you a quote that he said, which I think kind of sums it all up beautifully. Having side businesses gives me freedom to do acting because I want to do it, not because I need to do it. When you're not worried about your next gig, the work gets better. So at the risk of sounding obvious, let's talk about some of the benefits of having a side income that supports your acting career while it supports you. First of all, it gives you peace of mind. You're not worried about how you're going to pay your rent or put food on the table. Second of all, it gives you creative freedom because when you're stressed out and worried, you have less room in your brain, your heart, your soul to be spontaneous and free to create because that thing is there. It's always there at the back of your head. It gives you confidence because you don't need it. We all know how attractive that is when somebody walks into an area, a date, whatever it may be, with an air of confidence like, I want to be here. I do not need to be here. And that goes as well for our bookings. People like people who are confident. This is something you should be doing anyway, but having that financial freedom gives you freedom of choice and enables you to make a lot more riskier choices that you might not necessarily do if your only worry is like, how am I going to book this job, right? So if you're like, I don't care if I book this or not, I'm just going to have a good time. What'll probably end up happening is you are going to get noticed because when you're having fun, other people have fun watching you. And lastly, you regain your joy and your passion for acting because it's no longer a source of pain or concern or worry. Instead, it becomes a place where you can just express yourself and dive into the joy of being an actor. So wouldn't it be great if you could turn your passion for acting into your profession beyond just your bookings? Wouldn't that be great? All right. So let me just go through real quick the benefits of being able to do this. You're going to be able to get free training. You're going to be building your community. You're going to be networking on a whole new level. You're going to be getting a sustainable monthly income. And you're going to be doing it all on your schedule in places where you want to be, like in your hometown. And I know that this all sounds too good to be true, but this is the exact technique that I use to relaunch my acting career 13, 14 years ago. So I relaunched my acting career 11 years ago, but before I did the official relaunch, I needed to sharpen my skills and get my confidence in my acting back. And the only way to do that was to get really high caliber training. So I had a choice. I'm an American and I live in Munich, Germany, and I didn't want to add on the extra layers of having to act in a language that I wasn't 1000% competent in. So I wanted high caliber acting in English, and I wasn't going to find that here in Munich. So I had a couple of choices. I could go to London, New York, LA, and get the training I needed, but that obviously would have been very expensive and time prohibitive as well, because I still was a mom. I still am a mom, but my son was a lot younger, and I was still responsible for getting him up for school and feeding him and all that. Or I could bring the training to me. And I knew that if I could just find a handful of other actors, that I could make it sustainable for myself. So let me explain how I did this so that you can do it too, because honestly, this is something that anybody can do. You do not need to be an expert, a coach, or an influencer, or any of those things to find a handful of people that share the same passion that you have and want to learn alongside of you. So what ended up happening was there were kind of three phases to me curating these coaches and bringing them to Munich. So the first phase was I was only interested in getting that training at a reduced price. I just didn't want to have to pay for travel and hotel and restaurants and everything on top of the workshops. What ended up happening was I ended up getting free training. I was building a community. I was building my network. I was having a sustainable monthly income. So I was doing these main workshops once or twice a month. And then I was having workshops in between that so that the actors who had taken the main workshop could work with me on the skills that they had learned. So I was working out like 5, 6 times a week. I was serious about getting my skills sharp again. And lastly, the thing it did for me was I was able to arrange all of this around my own schedule, so around my own family in the place where I live. Then there was phase 2. So after I felt like my training had sort of clicked back into place, remember I had been a professional actor in America, but I was rusty. So after I felt confident in my skills again, I went and got an agent and started to audition again. So then my goal for the events and workshops became to make extra money, very frankly. So whenever I wanted to finance a short film, produce a short film, or get money to shoot new headshots, or extra money for vacation, or whatever it may happen to be, then my main goal was just creating extra income. So of course I was still getting all the benefits that I got before, but now you can also add into that I was also becoming known as an authority in these circles with other actors and with casting directors and with filmmakers and all sorts of things like that. And then finally, in phase 3, which is the phase that I'm in right now, I still will occasionally use these workshops when I want to network with people that I want to work with. So the benefit here is you are literally offering them something of value, money. And you are also able to speak to them at the same level. So it's not this hierarchy of me, the lowly little actor, and them, the big time casting director or filmmaker or whatever it may happen to be. We are two people who both have something to offer each other. So that is part of it. The other equation is that I can still participate in these workshops as a participant. So I can still show them how I act. I can still give them a sense of who I am, my vibe, my energetic signature, which is so important as an actor. And of course, I'm still making money, and I'm still doing it on my schedule, and I'm still doing it in my hometown. So those were the three phases of focus for the benefits of curating experts and coaches and organizing events, workshops, retreats, whatever it may happen to be, around their expertise. So the great thing about this is you can turn what you love into what you do without having to be an expert, an influencer, or a coach. You can just curate somebody else's expertise. And the good news is there are tons of experts and coaches out there these days, especially since Corona, because that's basically all anybody was doing during Corona was becoming an expert in whatever they were passionate about. So there are tons and tons and tons of people out there who would be more than happy to share their expertise with your audience. And it's up to you to negotiate the rates. So let's talk about this a little bit. So how do you make that happen, right? So the first thing that you need to do is identify what it is that you want to create a workshop around. Now, I'm an actor. I'm also a screenwriter. Those are the things that I am mainly interested in, but just because you're an actor, you may choose to do something that supports that, like acting workshops or voiceover workshops or motion capture or movement for actors or dance or voice or breath work. I mean, there are just literally thousands of things that you could choose from. It depends on you and what lights you up. But first, you need to figure that out. Once you've got that squared away, then you begin reaching out to the coaches and experts who you can then curate and bring to wherever you happen to be and organize a workshop around their expertise. So where do you find these people? Well, again, depending on what it is, but you will find them in all the usual places that we find people these days. They're on every platform that you're on. So the best platform to start with is the one where you spend the most time. If you're on Instagram the most, then check that out. If you're on TikTok, check that out. If you're on Facebook, check that out, because there are going to be groups and people in those groups with that expertise. Another thing you can do is use hashtag motion capture, hashtag voiceover coach, hashtag movement coach for actors. So the more specific you are, the more specific the people will be that turn up for you. Once you've figured out who your expert or coach is going to be, then you need to negotiate the terms of your agreement. Are you paying for their travel and hotel? What is their day rate? Do they have a day rate? If it's only an afternoon workshop, are they willing to work for a half a day rate? Are they willing to split the profits? There are so many different ways to do this, and you have to do it the way that works best for you and whichever that expert might be. Once you have negotiated all of that with the coach that you want to work with, then you need to find the other participants. And again, this will depend on where you're at and what your objective is. But you need to figure out how many other participants you need to have in order to make this economically viable for you. Once you've figured that out, you're going to find your other participants in the same places that you found your coaches and your experts. They're going to be hanging out on the platform that you spend the most time on. And if you think of yourself as your perfect client avatar, then use the language that would resonate the most with you, because that way you're going to be attracting people to you that are going to resonate with where you're at on your journey and what you're interested in learning. And then lastly, you just do it. That's it. Once you start to step outside of your comfort zone, you will learn so much. But there's only so much planning and all of that that you can do before you actually just have to step outside of your comfort zone and start taking action. I did create a free workbook for you. It's in the show notes below, Passion Project to Pro. Go ahead and download that because that will definitely go over in more depth all of the steps that I talked about here. And in March of 2025, I am launching a brand new program, Passion Project to Pro, where I will literally walk you through week by week the creation, finding your experts, finding your participants, pricing it, email templates, whether you're doing organic advertising or Facebook advertising, all of those different things, up until you literally launch your event. And then we take a little 2-week break to give everybody time to launch their events. And then we meet again afterwards to do a debrief and talk about what worked really well and what you would like to change for the next time. So that by the time you have finished this 8-week program, you will have earned back the price of your investment for Passion Project to Pro. So if this sounds like something that's good for you, definitely still download the workbook. But if you feel like, hey, I think I'm ready and I think I would like to have someone guide me through this step by step who's been there and done that, then book an appointment and let's see if we can turn your passion, that thing that you love, into that thing that you do and get paid for. I hope this has been helpful. If it has, please make sure to share it with a friend. And until next time, you stay your bold and beautiful self. Bye-bye.